Hey guys, I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are. I'm so grateful that you guys are watching my videos and commenting and subscribing. I really appreciate all the support. I'm actually in a bungalow right now because my house is being painted, and I thought that this would be a nice place to kind of do my videos. As you can tell, the windows behind me and the jungle is behind me, which is something that I love. In this video, I want to speak to you guys about how I feel, and I know a bunch of you have actually messaged me saying the same thing, that we spend a lot of our time as INFJs suppressing our real selves when we move through the world. Now, we do this because we have been taught from a long time ago when we were children that we're not good enough to exist on this planet as we are, as our authentic selves. We're not good enough in that manner. We're just not. We're told over and over again, why can't you just be normal? Why are you so odd? Why do you have to be so weird? Why can't you just be like everyone else, right? And so we get told this over and over again and realize that every single time we show our true selves to the world, we're kind of beaten down and said, don't do that. Why are you doing that? Stop doing that kind of thing, right? And so we realize if we really want to be accepted in this world, especially by our parents, and as children, that's one of our paramount needs, is we need to be accepted by our parents because we're afraid if we're not, then we're going to be thrown out by them, which, I mean, they wouldn't do that necessarily, but we're afraid, they won't love us and they leave us. And, there's a lot of fear as children in terms of parenting and parents, right? And so we want to be accepted by them. We want to be loved by them. What we do is we realize very quickly on that we can't show our true selves to them specifically, and also in relation to them, everyone else who's in our lives. So our teachers, our colleagues, our schoolmates, our friends, and anyone else in our life, our siblings perhaps as well. And so what we do is that we suppress ourselves. So we might be existing at this level if we were really allowing ourselves to be as exuberant and as intense and as passionate as we wanted to be, as we allowed ourselves to be. This is me being my authentic self right now. I'm crazy, I'm loud, I'm intense, I'm passionate, I'm ah. So I'm existing over here right now, right? And this is what I'm showing you guys. But as soon as I finish doing these videos, and as soon as I'm kind of going into the real world, what I do is that I'm like, okay, cool. All right, boom, you're over here. You need to come back down here, because if you don't, then people are going to think you're crazy. Then people are going to be like, okay, what's wrong with you? Are you high? Are you on drugs? I get asked that question all the freaking time. People look at my eyes and, they see how intense I can be, and they see how smiley I am all the time because I love life and I'm so grateful to be alive. And they always assume that I must be on some kind of drugs. They always assume that. I mean, I don't even know how many times I want to tell you guys that people are like, oh, what are you on right now? And I'm like, oh, nothing, just life. But seriously, we can be very intense and passionate, and I love that about us. I am not telling you guys to suppress that at all, but we do. As normal INFJs, when we're walking around the world, we will do that. We will suppress ourselves. We will bring ourselves back from there where we normally exist if we're by ourselves to here, or maybe even lower, because we're like, okay, I want people to like me. I don't want people to be scared of me. I don't want people to run away from me. I don't want people to ostracize me. I don't want people to kick me out of their groups. I don't want people to think that I'm crazy and put me in a mental institution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mold myself to be what other people want me to be, right? So you get up in the morning and perhaps you are dating someone and you do sleep next to someone, and you wake up and you're like, instead of jumping out of bed and like dancing like I normally get up in the bed, and I put music on and I'll just dance for a little bit, or I'll sing on the top of my voice. I'll just sing because I love just to kind of express myself, even though I don't think I'm a very good singer. I just like it. Or, I'll just, yell to the world, I'm so excited to be alive, another day to be alive, kind of thing, right? And so I'll do all these crazy things, but when I'm dating someone, and that's why I don't date anyone, is because I think to myself, like, hey, do normal people do this? And this is a question I ask myself all the time. I'm always asking myself, do normal people do this? And I'll think to myself, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I mean, I wish they did, but I don't think they do, right? And now, what is normal? Like, I know you guys can ask me that question, but I know what you know what I'm talking about, right? The people, the masses that are walking around, do they do this? Do they get up in the morning and dance? No, they don't. 90% of the population or more does not do that. Do they get up in the morning and speak to the birds that are singing to them? Absolutely not, unless they want to be labeled crazy. But I do that. I speak to the birds. I speak to the geckos that are playing their song or mating with each other or banging something that they're eating against the roof. Or I'll speak to the cicadas that are laying their song, singing along, doing their own mating season. So, I'll do all these random things, but I always catch myself when I'm walking around. For example, yesterday I was walking around and, I stopped for a second and I saw these birds and butterflies playing with each other. I'd never seen that before. Do birds and butterflies play with each other? I had no idea they did, okay, but they were. They weren't eating each other, weirdly enough. Maybe they're full. But anyways, the birds were flying around, the butterflies are flying around together in like a synchronous kind of motion. And I stopped and I just looked at them like, what is this going on here right now? And I literally stopped and I did not realize that I'd stopped right in the middle of the restaurant. I was looking at them. And apparently everyone was staring at me like I was insane. I was just staring at these birds and butterflies, just in my world, thinking to myself, what's going on here? Do birds and butterflies, are they eating each other? So I was just in my head, and I stood there for literally 5 minutes, staring at these birds and butterflies. And all of a sudden, like instantaneously, I was like, oh shit, I'm out in the world, I'm out in public, and I'm standing staring into space. I need to stop that. So I stopped myself and I instantly got myself back and I looked around me and people were staring at me because, I was standing around for 5 minutes staring off into space. They didn't realize I was looking at the birds and butterflies, I hope, right? But so I smiled and I walked off because people already think I'm crazy anyway, so I really don't give a rat's ass. But I really have to kind of be like, oh shit, I'm in the public place. I really have to start behaving normally, I can't just be randomly laughing to myself at a joke that I tell myself in my head, I always look around like, okay, can I laugh? Yeah, I can. Okay, cool. And then I laugh, at the jokes that I'm telling myself. Or, I'll look around me and I'll make sure no one's around me when I want to just to stand and stare at the trees. Sometimes I'll just do that. I'll just stand and stare at a tree. There's a beautiful, beautiful weeping willow next to the spa in the place where I work, and it's gorgeous. I mean, it's one of those beautiful trees I've ever seen, guys. It must be hundreds of years old, like huge, like just humongous, right? Gorgeous, just like beautiful. It just makes me want to cry every single time I see it. And a lot of times when I'll be passing by, if there's no one around, if it's early in the morning or late in the evening, I'll just stand there and I'll just stare at it. And I'll just be so happy, right? And as soon as I hear someone's footsteps, I'll instantaneously stop and I'll walk away, right? Because I know that this seems odd. Like, who else just stands there and stares at a tree? I mean, trees are just immobile. They're just standing there. They're not doing anything. For me, though, I see all the beauty. Like, the leaves are moving and dancing around, and the birds are in there singing, and it just makes me so happy just to see it, right? And so I try as much as possible to stop and look at the tree and to say hello to it and just spend some time with it, right? If I was really able to do it, there was no one around, I'd actually go up to the tree and hug it and tell it how beautiful it is and how much I love it, right? But again, that is a little bit insane, so I don't do that. I don't. I think of it in my head and I talk to it in my head. I say, you're so beautiful and I'm so grateful that you're here and thank you for cleaning the air for us and thank you for everything that you give to us and I love you and I'll see you later kind of thing, right? I will speak to it, but I'll do it in my head because I know if I said things out loud to a tree, people would think I'm insane, right? And that's, again, one more layer of suppression that we add to ourselves because we walk around the world and realize that no, this is not normal and we shouldn't be doing that because if we want to be accepted by this world that we live in, which we do, which we have to unless we want to be alone, right? Unfortunately, I mean, I've kind of built a life right now where I don't have to do a lot of these things that normal people have to do, which is great. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. But a lot of us actually live in the world in a metropolitan city. You can't just stand in the middle of the sidewalk and stare off into space. You can't just start talking to the birds that are outside your window. You can't just do all of these random things that as INFJs we really like to do, So I understand a lot of you might not have that flexibility. A lot of you probably are living with people as well. So you can't just like dance naked in your living room or, start singing at the top of your voice random songs that you made up in your head. I do that all the time. And so I understand that. I understand what it means. But you guys will notice as you get older or, as you become more authentic that there's going to be a moment where you don't care anymore, right? That you don't care if people are not friends anymore, are not your friends anymore, if your parents don't love you anymore, if your siblings don't care about you anymore, if you have no lover or partner, you don't care anymore because you're sick and tired of suppressing yourself, and you've been suppressing yourself for years and decades on end, and enough is freaking enough, and you realize and you decide that, okay, that's it. I am done with suppressing myself. I'm done with playing this random role in the world. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. And then you stop and you actually start being yourself. And then you're going to realize how often you actually suppressed yourself. Actually, in reality, probably most of you probably suppress yourself as long as you're in the public eye, which means if you live with someone, that means 100% of the time, unless you're in the washroom, unless you're taking a shower. And that's why a lot of INFJs love hanging out in the shower, and they take long showers, just standing there, letting the water run down them and just being themselves, because that's the only place in the world that they can be themselves, right? And which is really sad to really think about it. But you will realize how often you suppress yourself when you stop doing that. You're like, wow, I spent a lot of time changing myself, molding myself, doing things to myself so that I can fit into this square box that the world has placed me into or is trying to kind of push me into, right? And we're not square. None of us are square, really. Not non-INFJs, not INFJs. No one is square. We're all, unique, random shapes that cannot fit into a square box. But the world wants us to fit into a square box, and so we do our level best to fit in, and our arms, our limbs are hanging out, our leg is hanging out, our head is hanging out, but we do our best. But there will come a time in your life when you are like, bullshit, and you're like, enough is enough, I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm not going to freaking change myself to fit a random box that I really don't want to even be in, to fit with people that I don't even really like, that I don't even want to hang out with, to fit into this world that I don't really even want to fit in with, And that's when you're going to like, boom. That's when the light bulb's going to go off and you're going to be like, okay, cool, I'm just going to be myself all the time. And you're going to get a few weird stares. I get a lot of random stares. But the fact that I can be myself and I don't have to suppress myself and change myself anymore, God, it's so relieving, guys. It's so relieving. Like, I can just be myself and it just doesn't make a difference. And I feel so grateful and also so happy because I don't have to change myself. I don't have to always be thinking, okay, am I being normal? Am I being normal? Am I being normal? Am I being normal? All the time. These were the stupid phrases or statements that were going on in my head all the freaking time. Are you being normal right now, Boom Shikha? Are you being normal? Are you being normal? All the time. It was so annoying, It was really degrading to myself. It made me hate myself because I was like, God, does anyone else have to do this? Probably not. Why do I have to do this all the time, right? Now I don't do it anymore unless I'm really in a public place and there are people like at my brother's wedding. I was like, okay, I'm just going to, as much as possible, be myself. But if people start, if my brother's like, okay, you need to step down a little bit, calm down a little bit, then I'm like, okay, cool, I'll pretend to be someone that I'm not because it's for my brother's sake, for his wedding, right? And so that's what we do. We do it for the people that we love. And those are the only people I would do it for my family. Really, actually only my siblings. And no one else on the planet. No one else will actually ask me to do that, the people I really love. But my siblings, sometimes they're like, what's going on with you? And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll calm myself down and I won't be as crazy, right? But I also always want to be an example for them and for everyone around me to say, if I can be this crazy and I'm still fine and no one's kicked me off to a mental institution, then you guys can be as well. And so I want to act as an example for people to say, okay, you can come out of that box right now and you can be that crazy person or whoever you want to be. It doesn't matter if you're crazy or you're good or you're bad. Or, I mean, unless you hurt, as long as you don't hurt someone else, you can be whoever you want to be, right? And that's what we're trying to do as INFJs, give permission slips to everyone else by being our crazy selves and telling everyone it's okay, you can be yourself, right? And so I wanted to do this video. Whoa, I've already spoken for 15 minutes. Oopsie. Anyways, I hope this makes sense to you guys. Sometimes this topic is really, really important to me. I know I've done a bunch of videos about this, but it's so important for us to realize that we're walking through the world always suppressing ourselves down to a certain level. And we actually are at this level. So sometimes we should allow ourselves to stay at that high level and to see what happens. See what happens. Perhaps your highest fears or your biggest fears about being yourself are not going to come to fruition, and no one's going to bat an eye, and they're just going to let you be as you are. So perhaps all of those things that you were afraid of are actually not true, right? So try it out, see how it goes for you, okay? Again, thank you so much for watching, for listening. If you guys have any comments, comment below. If you guys want to message me privately, my email address is in the description below, and you can email me there, okay? All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.